Alright guys, in this video I am going to explain to you how you are going to finally start to build some more muscle. Before we get into it, I know I look kind of cooked right now, my hair's a mess. I don't care about how I look right now. I'm here to drop some game for you, to drop some knowledge. I've been training for about 2.5 years now, and I would like to think that I have built a pretty good amount of muscle, and I've built a pretty good physique as well. The reason that I am making this video, and the reason that I have titled this video how to build muscle fast, is because the progress that I have made in the last 2.5 years you can get in about a year, because I didn't have the knowledge that I'm about to drop down to you when I first started training. You have this knowledge available to you and I didn't. Same thing with the amount of progress that I made in the first year. You could probably do that within 6 months or so. So I'm giving you the head start. Take advantage of it. Firstly is the most obvious thing to do. You definitely know this, and well, if you don't, now you do. It's lifting weights. You need to give your body a reason to change, and if your goal is simply to put on as much muscle as you can in a short amount of time, as quick as you can, then lifting weights, or resistance training as you call it, is the best way to do so. It's the most researched way to do so as well. Doing this alongside eating a high protein diet, a lot of people, maybe including you, think that when you're training in the gym, you are building muscle in the gym. That is completely wrong, which is fine because you are here to learn, you're here to gain knowledge on this topic. When you're training in the gym, what you're really doing is damaging your muscles. That is the best way to explain it. And if you want to go into more detail, you're basically stressing out your muscles. And if you do this correctly, it's going to stimulate muscle growth. But for this growth to occur, to even be able to carry out this growth in the first place, you're going to need something called amino acids. These are found in proteins, and every single person has a different protein goal based on your own body weight. You should aim for an average of 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, or if you're in the Americans, if you're in America, you should aim for 1 gram per pound of body weight. And the more that you're able to do this on a consistent basis for a long period of time, the easier and the better you are going to be able to build muscle. Now, I don't really track my calories. I don't enjoy doing it. And this is if you don't want to track your own calories as well, but I would recommend it if you're a beginner, if you want to see as much progress as you can. In every meal that you eat, you are going to make sure that there is a considerable amount of protein in that meal. And then chances are, by the end of the day, you will have hit your protein goal. Just making sure that there is a good amount of protein in every meal that you eat. Now, I eat a very clean diet, and my favorite sources of protein comes from things like beef, steak, chicken, Greek yogurt, nuts, eggs. These are just a list of some of the things you can have in your meals, or you can have as a meal. It's up to you. Just make sure that you get a good amount of protein per day, close to how much you should be getting, like I mentioned before. Now, if you are starting this from a skinny base, so you don't have a lot of fat and you also don't have a lot of muscle, I would recommend going into a calorie surplus of 500 calories, and this will maximize the amount of muscle that you're able to put on. And the way that you're going to figure out what your calorie surplus is you are going to go to a website. It's called tdeecalculator.com, and you're going to enter your details and it will give you a number. That number is your maintenance calories. You're going to add 500 calories on top of that, and your goal is to hit that number every single day. You'll be able to lift more weight, you'll grow bigger. It's the best way of building muscle. Now, on the other hand, if you have quite a bit of fat on your body and a low amount of muscle, so in other times you have a skinny fat physique, I would recommend that you go into a lean bulk, which is pretty much the same thing, except it's a 300 calorie surplus instead of a 500 calorie surplus, a 2 to 300 calorie surplus. Depending on how much you are able to eat at once in a meal, I'd recommend around 3 to 5 meals per day, each meal containing some sort of protein, carbs, and fats. I'm not gonna go too much into the diet. That can be for another video. That's pretty much the diet covered now. We'll speak a little bit more on it later, but now that we've covered the diet, I do need to tell you, you can have a 100% clean, amazing diet hitting your protein goal. But if your diet is amazing and your training is absolutely poor, you have rubbish training, you will make no progress. You will hardly see any progress at all. There needs to be a balance of good training and a good diet together. You cannot have one without the other in order to see proper muscle growth. And I'm going to explain to you exactly how you are going to ensure that you are training correctly. The first thing that I want you to make sure that you're doing when you train is you're following a system of progressive overload. Now, I'm going to try to explain this to you as simply as I can without boggling your brain. The example exercise that I'm going to use for this is a bench press, just to try and explain it a little bit more simple. Okay, so here's how it works. If you're a beginner, you're benching maybe around 20 to 60 kg for reps. So let's just go with 30 kg for now. Let's say your current maximum reps is 30 kg for 8 reps. That is the maximum amount of reps you can do. In your notes, you're gonna write down bench press 30 kg times 8 reps. That's your maximum reps. Now, the next time that you come back to this exercise, in your next push session or in your next chest session, or whatever it is, you need to try to increase the amount of reps that you can do by 1. You should be getting stronger. So next time you go back, you should be able to do 9 reps. And then when you come again, you should aim to do 10 reps. And you're gonna repeat this right up until a maximum of 12 reps is what I would recommend. Now, once you have hit 12 reps for that weight, you're going to add 2.5 kg or 5 pounds for the Americans. And you're gonna repeat that process again. So this time, once you've added the weight, your maximum reps are probably gonna go back down to around 8 reps. And you're gonna repeat this again right up until you have 12 reps, and again, and again. You're gonna keep on going week by week, month by month. You are going to get stronger. You getting stronger, you're gonna build more muscle. You're finally giving your body a reason to change. You're not stuck on the same weight, doing the same amount of reps on the same weight. Your body actually has a reason to change, and you're gonna continue doing this for your whole gym journey. Progressive overload is the incremental increase of weight or reps over a prolonged period of time. Your first 3 to 5 months in the gym, pretty much any exercise that you take close to failure, not including the diet and sleep, you pretty much are going to build muscle because you're a beginner and you're fresh to this stuff. It's a big change for your body, so you're gonna build muscle for the first 3 to 5 months. After you hit the 5-month mark, it's not going to be as easy as it was to build muscle before. The longer you've been training for and the more muscle that you have built, the harder it is going to be to continue building that same amount of muscle that you was at the same rate that you was before. So after the 6-month mark, you're gonna start to have to take other factors into play to ensure that you keep on building more muscle. Unfortunately, unlike before, you won't be able to have bad sleep and a pretty bad diet, train whenever you want, not following a structure split, and still build muscle. Things are going to have to be structured now. The first thing that you're gonna want to take into account is your form and your tempo with the reps that you are performing. When you're lowering the weight, it should be around a 3-second eccentric. So an eccentric is literally when you're lowering the weight. For example, a bicep curl, if you're going down, it's 3, 2, 1, and then you curl straight back up. And on your way back up, you wanna go back up as quick as you can, which is the concentric. And you are going to keep on performing this exact tempo right up until failure for whatever rep range it is that you are in. And the reason that we are now going to start focusing on your tempo is to improve the mind to muscle connection with the muscle that you are training. Now, there is some controversy in the fitness industry about whether the mind to muscle connection is worth it, if it even does anything to help with muscle growth, but this is what has worked for me, which is why I am telling you. You hear the old school bodybuilders, you hear Arnold saying all the time, you need to feel the muscle that you're training. Understand why you're doing the movement that you're doing and how it is affecting your body. Don't lift or perform any exercise without understanding what the purpose of that exercise is. You need to know what you're hitting. You need to know why you're doing an exercise. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of exercises for all the different muscle groups that you can hit. Now, what works for me and what I might enjoy might not work for you, and you might not enjoy it. You need to experiment with all these different exercises to see what's comfortable for you. Try a range of loads of different exercises and pick just a few for each muscle group. I would recommend around 3 to 4 for each muscle group that you enjoy doing, that you're comfortable doing, and that actually works for building muscle for you. There is no point doing an exercise that your favorite influencer has told you to do if you don't even enjoy it and if it has no benefit to actually building any muscle for you. Moving on to the next factor, and I know some of you are going to need to hear this: do not ego lift. Don't ego lift. I know you want to impress your friends. I know you want to impress the people on the gram from how much weight that you're lifting. But remember, your goal here is building muscle. We're not just trying to lift a huge amount of weight. You want to build muscle. And if you want to build muscle, the amount of weight that you're lifting should not be a concern for you. You will get stronger, but that is not the focus. Don't let the ego get to your head. In terms of the rep range that you need to be in to achieve consistent muscle gain, again, this is what is comfortable for you. But personally, I enjoy being in a rep range of 6 to 10 reps, as I have found that this is the best rep range for building muscle and strength at the same time without becoming too fatigued. When you're choosing your rep range, you can choose any number in between 6 and 20 reps that you need to fail in between. Like I said, my personal favorite is 6 to 10. Most people go with 12 to 15 or 8 to 12. Again, experiment through all these different rep ranges and see what works for you. And in terms of the amount of sets that you're going to do, you're going to do 2 to 3 sets per movement. If you're just a beginner and you're just starting out, you've been training for under 3 months, I would say stick with 3 sets. Once you've gained more experience, once you've gained more knowledge, then maybe you can drop down to 2 sets. But for now, just stick to 3 sets. I recommend that you do your compound exercises for a lighter amount of reps than you would do your isolation exercises for. So for my compound exercises, I go in between the 6 to 10 rep range. And for my isolation exercises, I do the 12 to 15 rep range. This is just to prevent any kind of injury. And I also feel when you're doing isolation exercises, you get a much better mind to muscle connection when you go with a higher rep range. Now, the next factor that I have already briefly mentioned is training to failure. After a certain amount of time, it's going to be hard hard for you to build muscle if you're not training to failure. It's going to be a necessary need for you to be able to continue to build more muscle. You need to be training right up until failure, or at least close to failure, with 1 rep in reserve. So what does training in between 8 to 12 reps actually mean? Does it mean you're gonna train up to 12 reps and if you can do more reps, you have to drop the weight? No. It doesn't mean that you need to stop at 12 reps even if you can do more. It means that you should not be able to perform any more reps at all within that rep range. No matter how hard you try, you cannot get that weight up. So to put it simply, if you're using the 8 to 12 rep range, you need to fail your set underneath rep 12 or at rep 12 and above rep 8. It might sound complicated now, but you will understand this over time. If you don't understand, drop a comment and I'll be happy to help you. The way that you reach failure doesn't have to be the same every single time. You are able to implement different techniques to reach failure. You can use things as drop sets, supersets, pyramid sets, pause rep sets, but the majority of the time you will only need straight sets to build muscle. The only reason that I would ever, and the only reason that you should ever implement any other type of set like a drop set, superset, the ones I mentioned before, is to make your training a little bit more fun. Sometimes it's boring to do the same type of set week in and week out. Again, you must be training intensely, you must be training to failure. How hard you train and how intensely you train is going to be the biggest factor to how much muscle you can build. Well, it's going to be one of the biggest. A lot of people struggle with building muscle and they say that they're training to failure. They say that they are training intensely, and I can tell they easily had 2 to 3 more reps in the tank to be able to finish that set. So please, I'm gonna say this one more time. Make sure you cannot push or you cannot pull that last rep. You should be struggling. Even if there was a gun pointed at your head, you would not be able to perform that rep. Now moving on to recovery. You're not gonna grow if you don't have the right recovery in between sets on a week-to-week basis, including sleep. You need to be able to recover your muscles from the stress that you're putting them through. How much should you be resting in between your sets? Listen, if you're resting in between 30 seconds to 1 minute and 30 seconds or underneath 2 minutes, chances are the set that you performed before resting was not intense enough. Your body needs to physically have a need to want to rest about 3 minutes, which is the amount of rest that you need to do in between sets. 3 minutes is the perfect time for you to reset and then go into the next set. I know that 3 minutes might seem like a long amount of time, but it's better to perform 3 high quality sets with 3 minutes of rest in between each of these sets rather than 10 sets with 30 seconds rest in between. The person that does the 3 high quality sets is going to build way more muscle than the person that just goes in the gym and rests 30 seconds, moves on to another exercise. Everything needs to be structured, it needs to be controlled. Now, in terms of on a weekly basis, you need to have a minimum of 1 rest day where you don't do any hypertrophy training or resistance training, you don't go to the gym. It needs to be a complete rest day. Give yourself time to recover. Now, the amount of rest days that you have, again, is a personal preference. I personally don't have just 1 rest day, I have 2 rest days per week. I feel like I need 2 rest days per week to ensure that I am recovering from all my sessions and I'm able to go back into my sessions with 100% effort. You're gonna need time to repair and to recover and to build new muscle. And the majority of the time that you spend doing this is in your sleep. So now sleep is a factor that you have to take into account if you want to continue to build more muscle. You are going to need a minimum of 7 hours up to a maximum of 9 hours. So I would say the sweet spot is about 8 hours of sleep a night. Now we could go a lot deeper into sleep and how it affects your testosterone, which in turn affects how much muscle you can build, but we're gonna leave that for another video as well. This is quick, it's a simple video to help you get started. Just keep it simple. Sleep 8 hours a night and try to go sleep at the same time every day and try to wake up at the same time every day. Now we have pretty much covered everything. There's a few extra stuff that I'll go over quickly, but that is the basis of everything. For the first 2 years of your lifting journey, being lean is not something that should be a huge concern for you. If you're lean, it's going to be harder for you to build muscle, so it's fine to have a little bit of pudge, if you call it, on your body. And then after 2-3 years or so, where you've built a good amount of muscle, you have a decent physique now, you can strip away all that body fat and you'll be left with a nice, cut, aesthetic physique, which you can keep for the rest of your life now. You will never have to bulk again. Supplements. Now, a lot of people think supplements are going to help them an insane ton in the gym. It won't. Supplements are just a small addition, a small percentage of what progress you make in the gym. So with supplements, the majority of your nutrients should be coming from your food. You should be eating a very nutrient dense diet to the point where you won't need any supplements. But sometimes it happens to all of us, you're not going to hit that nutrient goal. So the only supplements that I usually recommend is magnesium, vitamin D, and fish oil. Those are the basic supplements you need. It doesn't need to get more complicated than that. One more additional supplement that you can't really get from food is creatine. It's one of the most highly researched supplements. There isn't much side effects from it. If not, none. I have not experienced any side effects with creatine at all. So it's perfectly fine and healthy and safe for you to take. Creatine will improve your performance and your power output in the gym, therefore helping you build muscle quicker. And that's it, guys. This stuff might sound very simple. It's the simple stuff that help. Everything that I have just mentioned run along the lines of sleep, diet, and intensive training, along with progressive overload. Focus on these things and do well on these things on a consistent basis, and you are going to see results. This stuff will contribute to about 80% of your success in the gym. I hope that you guys learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time. If you have any video suggestions, drop a comment down below, and make sure you drop a subscribe so I can continue making videos like this for you. This is free game, okay? Drop that subscribe.